In spite of investment in the health sector in Nigeria, the health system still remains weak and is characterized by deficiencies such as gross underfunding, shortage of quality human resources, poor infrastructure, among other deficiencies. On Core Health today, we shall be looking at reasons behind this and ways out of these deficiencies. We will also bring you health stories that happened during the week. Hello and welcome. My name is Zibirunke Arowoshola. Member of senior management team of Save the Children Nigeria, David Olayemi, has called on the federal government to distribute health care workers to rural areas where they are needed the most and also ensure they are well motivated. He also called for adequate equipment in healthcare centers across the country. Sit down and enjoy. When we say human resources for health, what exactly are we talking about?
The World Health Organization defines human resources for all, the health workforce, as all those whose primary responsibilities or primary intention is to prevent, manage or treat and promote health. Which means that everybody whose primary intention is to do that is a health worker. Now, and you should also know that there is no health, no quality health without a quality workforce. Which means that without a workforce, you can have all the equipments and all the medications for all your care. All those will not amount to anything unless there's a workforce to ensure that it happens. And therefore, we are quite interested in ensuring that the health workforce that we have in Nigeria is not only adequately equipped, but is well motivated, and they are distributed in such a way that both the urban and rural areas are well served. Nigeria has a very good stock of health workforce, maybe not yet the number that is expected, but in terms of the number of health workforce that we have in Nigeria, we're actually very, very good compared to other sub-Saharan African countries. But where are they? You discover that most of the quality health workers are actually in the urban areas. If you survey in Abuja here, you discover that majority of the quality or what we call skilled health workforce is in Abuja metropolis. And by the time you move to the rural areas, even you go to places like Yanya or go to the outskirts, you then discover that majority of these health workers are not there. And by the time you now go into hinterland, the villages, you discover they are not even there at all. We are quite concerned about this because majority of the deaths of mothers and babies that we have are in these rural areas. It's not as if mothers and children are not dying in the urban, but when you compare numbers, you then discover that the number in the rural areas is unacceptably high. So what we are asking government to do and all the agencies responsible is that the workforce should be distributed in such a way that the rural areas are also adequately served compared to the urban centers. And what that means is that health workers must be adequately motivated to be able to stay in the rural areas. I'm sure you would not want to stay in a village where there's no electricity, no water. If you have children, you don't want to work in a place where there are no quality schools for those children. These are some of the issues that we believe the health workforce is having to contend with, and therefore distribution becomes quite a challenge. It's an issue that will not go quickly, but it's an issue that we have to start addressing.
All right, sir. So why is it that in spite of investment in the health sector, the health sector still remain weak?
In practice, and according to World Health Organization, there are 6 main pillars for the health system. What you usually see is the service delivery, but behind the service delivery are so many other. In fact, there are 5 other pillars that are important, and unless all the other 5 pillars are good, the health service will remain very, very poor. What are these? The governance of health is very, very poor. When we talk about governance, remember that our constitution makes health well, actually our policy makes health a concurrent issue. What that means is that the 3 tiers of government have responsibility for health. The federal government, the state government, and the and the state and the local governments. Now, what that also means is that when you give responsibility to 3 groups and there are no clear lines of demarcation and responsibilities, then it simply means that all of them will probably doing the same thing or not doing anything. And that is precisely what the story of health care delivery in Nigeria has been over the past years. What has been happening is that there is not inadequate attention to health. And when that happens, it simply means that all those things that you talk about will continue to be. And what is the impact? It simply means that mothers and children will be dying needlessly. So the governance is very, very weak. In addition to that, like you have mentioned, funding. You mentioned funding. Funding is very, very, very poor. Most of our health facilities are provided with technologies that are either obsolete, that is old, or technologies that are not fully supported or that are not even appropriate for our own situation. And when that happens, then you discover that most of the health facilities are not well equipped and not well serviced when it comes to the materials that they need. The other one is what we call the health management information system. Now, without very good and up-to-date information system, you cannot have the tool to do your planning. If you are planning based on guesses, then you are going to continue to have a very bad plan, a weak plan, a plan that cannot serve the purpose of the nation. So our health information system is very, very bad. And because it is very weak, it is impossible to have a proper plan. Now, I've talked about the health workforce. We probably have a good number, but where are they? They are poorly distributed. And if they are poorly distributed, it simply means that where health workers are not available, you expect that mothers and children will die. So these are the issues that need to be taken care of. And unless you pay attention to them, it is impossible to have the type of health service that you...
During the 3rd National Human Resources for Health Conference, it was revealed that the major challenge Nigeria faces is how to ensure availability and retention of adequate, competent human resources to provide health care in areas where they are needed the most, like the rural area you mentioned, sir. So you may, at that conference, what has been done so far now to address this challenge?
To answer your question, 1 month after, what have we done? We have had 1 or 2 meetings, and the meetings have been to review what has come out of the conference, and I'm happy that you've captured quite a number of them, to review what has really transpired during the conference and those things that we need to take forward. And we have assigned responsibilities. We have assigned responsibilities within the government ministry, department and agency, that's FDA, and within the partners. We know that the responsibility actually is for the Nigerian people and the government, but partners are there to support. And we, because of sustainability, our agreement is that the government should lead and should do it. Partners will support. So we have allotted responsibilities, and we believe that when every member of the forum takes care of his or our own side of the responsibility, we should be able to get a better deal come next year. That is what we have done so far.
Tell us now, how do we ensure from the outcome of that conference now, can you highlight some of the recommendations, apart from the one you talked about, solutions now, that were proffered at that conference to ensure we have effective health service delivery at all levels now in the country?
In 2014, for the first time in this country, what we call the National Health Act came into being. The reason for that act is because the Constitution as it stands now, many people have criticized the Nigerian Constitution as the most inadequate, inefficient document that we have. Unfortunately, many Nigerians don't even know. The Nigerian Constitution does not make any provision for the health of Nigerians. It does not. So we have a law, even though the world believes that health is a right, quality basic health is a right. Nigerian constitution does not recognize it. Fortunately, we now have an act that puts some emphasis on that and ensures that Nigeria now has some justiciable right as far as the health is concerned. And what that means is that if one of the things that came from the HRH conference is that we need to speedily ensure that this act is implemented effectively. So that is one thing that we are pursuing, and we believe that with the leadership of the Federal Ministry of Health, it should be possible to ensure the implementation of this act and to make sure that health of Nigerians become assured. That is one. The second point is that we have talked about the health workforce, and we want to make sure that the relevant agencies of government work towards ensuring that quality health care is available to all Nigerians wherever they are. It's only the question of will on the part of government at all levels to ensure that the health workforce is equitably distributed. Equitably distributed means that everybody has access to the quality health that he or she needs at the time he or she needs it. And it is not about discrimination between the rich and the poor, between the urban and the rich, between women and fathers, but to make sure that all Nigerians have access to quality health workforce. These are the things that we are taking forward. Of course, the appeal is therefore to both the regulatory bodies of health and the producers of health workforce, to the relevant agencies of government, and to the ministries of health at national and subnational level to do what they have to do. Of course, we know that it is too early to ask donors to take their hands off. So we know that donors will have a role to play in the coming years. But we hope that increasingly government will maintain its presence and leadership to the extent that very soon, hopefully, we may not need donors to support us anymore.
All right. Okay. Lastly, before you go, what's your advice now for Nigerians out there? So also ensure they stay healthy, to ensure a healthy lifestyle. The
NPHCDA led the development of what we call the World Development Committees some years ago. World Development Committees. I believe that the World Development Committees, wherever they are, should become very active in understanding what it is they require for quality health care in their domain, and to demand for it. To demand for it from the local governments, demand for it from the state governments, and demand for it from the federal government, particularly in their domain, those who are government representatives or functionaries, including the politicians. They should ask the politicians what they are doing with our money regarding health. They should stand up and do it. Until that happens, my dear, it will continue to be a mirage.
You've heard it all on the way to go for the health sector to strive in Nigeria. Before we bring you health activities that took place during the week, we will go on a short break. Stay tuned.
Want to catch up on all the latest happenings in and around Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory?
Give them basic amenities instead of demolition. To be able to do that, you have to demolish some.
Running like a mad person. Sometimes we enter main road, motor will jam us.
The government is concerned about life.
This road will suffer, no roads here.
Informing you of government activities complemented by the private sector.
Abuja Today also brings you all the socio-political and economic happenings. Then join me, Anita Patrick, every Saturday, 6:30 p.m. and a repeat broadcast 12:30 p.m. on Abuja Today.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching Core Health. The Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Aisha Al-Hassan, says the released 106 Chibok girls have fully recovered and are ready for reintegration. The minister said this in Abuja while giving updates on the girls. Since the release of the 106 Chibok girls, the Minister of Women Affairs disclosed that the federal government had made provisions for the medical assessment of the girls, including psychosocial testing, routine observation and monitoring of their adjustment to life, with a view of assisting them to gain full recovery.
So far, they are now stabilized and most of their traumatic stress disorder symptoms have been overcome, and previously frequent incidents of flashbacks, insomnia, and nightmares have now been successfully brought under control.
On education and training, she disclosed that the federal government is making plans to equip them for formal education in order to make them productive Nigerians and global citizens.
To date, education and livelihood opportunities of the Chibok girls since their return have been enhanced through remedial and tutorial sessions, as well as vocational skills training to make them not only academically sound, but also possessing independent livelihood skills.
Apart from the federal government intervention, the minister disclosed that there have been tremendous support from development partners, especially from the United Nations, UNICEF, along with private sectors and well-meaning Nigerians. Women and girls have borne the brunt of disasters in the country, but that's not all. Female students also suffer penalties for non-sensual compliance in school, particularly with male lecturers. But they are shouting above their voices to get the attention of government, as they say they have had different forms of victimization and sexual molestation in their campuses. Let's have the report. The heightened rate of sexual harassment in tertiary institutions has prompted campaigns against female victimization and sexual molestation on campuses in Nigeria. Testimonies from female students like Blessing Onwumere tells the woes of what she and her peers suffer.
I've been sexually harassed, and I also know females who have been harassed as well, and most times they don't get to say anything. They are not able to speak up or speak out, and they remain in silence and they continue to get victimized.
I am happy today that irrespective of the fact I didn't speak then, I found my voice and I tried to use my voice and real stories around me, including my own, to help other survivors of sexual violence not to go through the same things I go through.
Florence Titus, an undergraduate from University of Abuja, advised female students to be careful and attend classes so as to come out with better grades.
Most of us students are willing to study. While we are trying our effort, the lecturers are trying to weigh us down. They are trying their possible best to see us coming back, pleading for them to sleep with us in order to upgrade our grades.
Cases of sexual harassment in Nigeria campuses are hardly reported, which accordingly is poor compared to the daily occurrences, and victims of such acts are advised to speak out.
With your voice, you can galvanize, organize, and strategize for action. No longer should our female students be victimized or harassed in our tertiary institutions, and for us to keep quiet.
I think decency in dressing should be introduced, should be taken seriously. Like some of the private universities, they make it as a point of duty to ensure that students have a particular form of dressing. Students are made to dress decently. For instance, if you are going out naked in the street or partially naked, you could entice somebody, but that is not, again, a yardstick for you to start harassing or maybe raping a student.
Violence Against Persons Act passed in 2015 by the Nigerian government is expected to curb the menace and punish offenders. But many are of the opinion that the act is not being respected, as cases of sexual harassment and victimization keep increasing on a daily basis. The National Center for Women Development plans to carry out advocacy drives to various institutions in the country to encourage more female students to be more forthcoming about their ordeals relating to sexual advances from male or female handlers. We will go on a short break. Stay tuned.
Governing a country full of complexities like Nigeria requires the support of everybody. The role players of governance take the decisions that affect their daily life.
Rest assured that this administration will continue to do all it can to rescue the remaining Chibok guys who are still in Boko Haram's captivity.
Let's remove emotion from facts. 1. Do judges have immunity? The answer is no. Can judges be arrested? The answer is yes.
We resolve to work together, the federal government and the states, to meet the challenges of our economy.
It didn't happen by accident. It happened by the hard work that this government has done since it came into office.
Daily Abiola Oluwole on Core TV News every Saturday at 12:30 p.m. as I take you around to the activities at the
Welcome back. Nigerians have been urged to protect and sustain natural resources and also be environmentally friendly. Environmentalists gave this advice at a roundtable meeting on sustaining nature, addressing climate change and protecting the environment, which was held in Abuja recently. Take a look at the report. The need to protect and sustain natural resources cannot be overemphasized. These experts say it is in the core interest of stakeholders in Nigeria to pursue a sustainable development pathway and place nature at the center of development in Nigeria.
If we destroy our key natural capital, what you call natural resources, any other development will not move far.
When we dump refuse and all these things in the oceans, that is not climate change. That is nature issue, because the oceans support our food chain. And if we destroy it, then it has an economic imperative and consequences.
They further warned that without addressing the challenges nature faces, such as climate change, flooding, and increase in climate change, may have adverse effects on agricultural production and human lives.
If we destroy our key natural capital, what you call natural resources, any other development will not move far, because we've seen what has happened in Sierra Leone. We've seen flooding in Nigeria. Because of increasing climate change, changing weather patterns, our agricultural production would drop massively.
What you give to the environment gives you back. So if you wrongly deals with the environment reacts. What's happened in Sierra Leone apparently has been a failure, partly on governments and partly on other sectors.
It was affirmed that it is imperative to protect the existing natural reservoirs and sustain them for posterity's sake.
The issue of protecting the forest, whereby you can tell the community, if you keep these trees standing, there is an incentive for that, and provide an alternative for them. So it is this critical thinking, new way of thinking, that we are bringing into the polity of environment.
Destroying natural resources such as trees, experts say, can have adverse effects on nature and the environment. They warned Nigerians against dumping of refuse in drainages, which according to them will not only have effects on health, but also on the environment. Well, this is how far we can go on today's program. Please do feel free to reach out to us on the number displayed on your TV screen for your observations, comments, and contributions. Do join us next time on this station. My name is Zibironke Aroshola. Many thanks for watching.